AFR On Demand is brought to you by Breck Golf. Try Beaver Creek today, just 20 minutes from downtown Baton Rouge in the Zachary area. They've got a PGA Tour driving range, a short game practice area, 30 to 40-yard practice shots. It's a great place to chip and putt and practice if you don't have time for a full round. Book your tee time today, golf.breck.org, golf.breck.org.
Matt Moscona.
I'm very important.
After further review.
Say it one more time.
After further review with Matt Moscona.
And here we go.
Live from downtown Baton Rouge.
Let's ride!
And off we go. Welcome aboard. Glad you're with us. It's AFR presented by Relief Windows. I'm Matt.
Love you, Matt.
Paul O'Neill.
Chanting Paul O'Neill's name.
Musso. And Mr. Toby Tom Blake. All right, we're here. Glad you are as well. Get out there and make it a good one. Tigers win. Saints lose. Nuss is injured. LSU got a quarterback of the future. Ton to do. Let us begin as we do every single day.
It's time to pop the top on another edition of AFR with Bud Light. Drink easy.
Well, if that wasn't a throwback Saturday night in Tiger Stadium to an era a lot of y'all might not want to remember. That felt, did it not, like watching a Les Miles football game. Maybe I'm more in tune to that because I covered all those teams and watched every game. And my goodness, ball control, defense, field position, punt it again. 7 punts, 4 inside the 24, 50 yards or more. Suffocating defense. It was an illustration, certainly, that there are many different ways that you can win a football game. And as we have seen through the up until now in the Brian Kelly era, by and large, LSU has won with offense, but they have not won at the highest level. They have won games. They have not been competing for championships. You had a 4,000-yard passer a season ago. You lost 4 games. They are trying to win now, clearly, in very, very, very different ways. And Brian Kelly was heated after the game. He had the interaction with Michael Cobble. On Monday, Brian Kelly apologized publicly and said he apologized privately to Cobble as well. I can certainly understand a coach defending his team. Coaches talk through the media all the time. The bottom line is the question that Cobble was asking was the question to ask. Listen, LSU's defense is objectively awesome. 5 interceptions. That hadn't happened since you did it to Matt Corral in the COVID year, in that game in the rain. Remember when Kayshawn went off for 300 yards that game? Unbelievable defensively. Special teams were outstanding. Damian Ramos made both of his field goals. We just talked about Grant Chadwick. 7 punts, 4 inside the 20, 1 out at the 6, 1 out at the 2. He was awesome. Aaron Burrell's a touchback machine. Your coverage is really good. Returns with Thomas and Barry and Brown, fantastic. The offense is the question. And it's a matter of it's not can you win games? You can beat Florida with that strategy. Can you win a championship with that strategy? Ultimately, you're going to have to find some offense. And after the game, throughout his 13-minute post-game press conference, I think Brian Kelly finally started to simmer down a little bit and acknowledged all these things are true in the way they're going about winning right now.
You guys were here when we had a prolific offense. That doesn't work.
You can't outscore people and be a championship team. You can build your offense around the defense if it's that good. And that's what we're going to do. We're going to get better on offense, be more efficient. But at the end of the day, we're not going to put our defense in a bad situation. And that's what we have to get better at. If there's some takeaways from here, it's really about ball control, flipping the field, doing a better job of being more efficient in third down situations when we can run it in third and short. And maybe we got to get in the eye like we did at the end there with a fullback back there and pound the football. If that's what we have to do, that's what we're going to do.
My goodness. I formation, flipping the field. Like, we have jumped into the DeLorean, cranked that thing up to 88, and we're smack dab in the middle of 2015, y'all. We just went back a decade. Listen, in all seriousness, I mean, I am serious about that stuff, but all last week, we talked about one thing primarily. Now, we had branches off of the tree, but we talked about one thing primarily. What was it? We talked about how a year ago, Florida's defensive front wrecked LSU. That was the jumping off point for basically every conversation we had about this game last week. You know the numbers because I said them 1,000 times. 7 sacks, 11 TFLs, 14 hurries, 20 pressures. It was awful. You dominated the stat sheet in Gainesville a year ago, and you lost the game for one reason. You couldn't control their defensive front. Their defensive front wrecked the game. They forced a turnover deep in LSU territory. They were able to rip off a 55-yarder late. LSU would get on the precipice of the red zone. Sack, TFL, negative play, pushes you back. Happened over and over again, kept that game close, and ultimately Florida made the play late to win it. This game was completely flipped from a year ago. Florida had 23 first downs to LSU's 10. Florida outgained LSU 366 to 322. By the way, 51 of that came on Caden Durham's busted run at the end of the game. They outpassed you 287 to 220. They held the ball for 38 minutes. You had it for 22. They dominated the yardstick. But they threw 5 picks because DJ Lagway is not a good quarterback. As I've said, much to the chagrin of many now for a while. For everybody who wanted to pump up this year's quarterbacks, said, oh, let me see it. DJ Lagway was playing his first real true road game. He came off the bench last year against Tennessee. He played at 2-10 Florida State, which was no big deal. This was his first real SEC road game. How do you think it was going to go? About like it did. 5 interceptions for the LSU defense. Hat tip to Deshaun Spears. Pick 6. How about A.J. Halsey's interception right before the end of the first half, which got you 3 points? Beautiful ball skills. You could see some of the reason why we've harped on some of these guys since fall camp. You're seeing it now, like with Halsey. We talked about Halsey all throughout fall camp. Nobody saw him. He wasn't here in spring. You go lay eyes on 13, and you're like, oh, I get it. Okay. DJ Pickett gets his first career interception. TaMarcus Cooley playing center field, picks one off in the end zone. DBU, yes, please. There is no objection to any of that. LSU's defense was awesome in this ball game, and you did what you had to do to win an SEC game and not let Florida do the one thing that could have gotten you beat. And LSU executed that to perfection. Now, here's the problem. And I think Brian Kelly knows it, whether he wants to acknowledge it, talk about it, whatever the case may be. Your offensive line, the line we've talked about since spring and into fall camp, clearly is a gigantic liability such that it is altering the way you approach offensive football. On Saturday night, and I know Brian Kelly on Monday disclosed the torso injury with Nussmeier. He's practicing fully. He's not even listed on the injury report. I'll give you more opinion on that later, but my opinion is it's not a thing. In the same way that the knee tendonitis that everybody wanted to make a thing wasn't a thing, this isn't a thing. But I'll get to more of that later. The bottom line is teams are playing coverage against you because they know you got great receivers. So even when you have a favorable matchup to run the football, you can't run the football. You couldn't move bodies against Louisiana Tech. That's the problem. This offensive line is pass blocking fine. Garrett Nussmeier was not sacked. He was pressured one time in the football game. Pass blocking, they've been fine. They can't move bodies in the run game. And in particular, on Saturday, it was the right side of your line. It was Josh Thompson, and it was Weston Davis. Their Pro Football Focus grades were in the 40s. Just not good enough. So this is a team right now that has got to figure out its offensive line. And you can't go into free agency. I mean, you did that already. You added Braylon Moore and Josh Thompson. But Weston Davis has got to get better. Paul Mabenga, by the way, hat tip to Paul Mabenga, who was your highest graded offensive lineman in this game, after a year ago in this game, gave up 8 pressures in that game a year ago. He was awful a year. And in this game, answered the bell, was your highest rated offensive lineman. Credit where it's due. Hat tip to Paul Mabenga. Played well. Now, I know a lot of people want to flip out about the offense, about Joe Sloan, about Nuss is injured, whatever. Fine. This is my contention, and this might be proven wrong. So in the next 2 weeks, when we come back here on Mondays, we'll reevaluate this conversation. But here's my contention. Watching 3 games, listening to Brian Kelly talk about it, I think they had 2 very tough tests defensively with Clemson on the road and Florida at home. And they were not going to let that offensive line get them beat like they did last year in Gainesville. So they were going to lean on their defense, special teams, and just do enough offensively to win, and they've done that. They know they got to be better offensively. Now, the next 2 weeks, it lightens up significantly. You're at home against an FCS school, and then you're at Ole Miss, who stinks. Did you watch Ole Miss against Arkansas? Arkansas put up 500 yards, threw for 300, ran for 200. Arkansas went up and down the field on Ole Miss. Their defense stinks. If in the next 2 weeks, this offense doesn't show marked improvement, then you got a real problem. Because I can understand offensive struggles at Clemson and at home against Florida, because those defenses have pros at every level. Southeastern Louisiana and Ole Miss do not. So I'll give them 2 more weeks. I understand all y'all want to burn the whole thing down right now. I get it. I know what fans do. I'll give them 2 more weeks. I'll give them 2 more weeks to see how this looks against dramatically inferior competition. And you're going to say, what about Tech? I can chalk that up to a letdown spot. I'm okay chalking that up to a sandwich spot between Clemson and Florida. Weird look with the 3-3-5 stack. Anyway, next 2 weeks. If the offense isn't dramatically improved in the next 2 weeks, you got real problems. But I suspect LSU is going to go out there against a dramatically inferior Southeastern Louisiana team and get going offensively. I think they're going to do the same thing on the road against Ole Miss. See how it goes. But the Tigers are 3-0. They're ranked number 3 in the country, and they got a 2/3 of the game. Defense, special teams are playing like a national championship level. Offense needs to catch up. How much can they make up? The good news is they got time to do it before they should really be threatened again. All right, it's After Further Review. Our show open every day is brought to you by Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light, the official beer of AFR, the official beer of the Tiger. This is the official beer of the New Orleans Saints as well. Make sure if you're tailgating, if you're home gating, if you're at a game watch, if you're at a restaurant, drink the official beer of the LSU Tigers, the official beer of the New Orleans Saints. Make sure you look for those officially licensed cans. You got the black cans with the fleur-de-lis for the Saints, and the white cans and aluminum bottles, the officially licensed cans for LSU Athletics. It's Bud Light. Drink easy with the great taste of Bud Light. All right, it's After Further Review, y'all. We're not going to quick break. Come back. I'll get you some thoughts on Saints falling to 0-2 with their loss to the 49ers. And in about 15 minutes, I'm going to come back and give you my full analysis on what Brian Kelly said on Monday about Garrett Nussmeier's injury. That's all ahead on AFR.
After Further Review.
Get Gordon and get it done. Gordon McKernan, Injury Attorney. As a matter of fact, Gordon's going to be in our studio here in a couple hours. He'll be here in hour number 3. Looking forward to that conversation with Gordon about Garrett Nussmeier, other members of the G team, and, of course, all the work that Gordon's done in NIL. We'll get into that conversation, the Gordfather of NIL, as it were. Gordon McKernan, Injury Attorneys. If you've been injured in an accident, it's not your fault. Do what injured people in our state have done for 3 decades. Get Gordon and get it done. Of course, you can go to the website, getgordon.com, getgordon.com. getgordon.com. Or you can call them 888-8888, 888-8888. Matter of fact, if you go to the website, there's a call now button there on the homepage of the website. You can just tap that. It'll call the office. And you'll talk to a living, breathing human being who will help get you started going through that process. It's Gordon McKernan, Injury Attorneys, great supporters of the community. The billboard design competition is still open. You can learn about that at the website as well. Whatever you do, go to getgordon.com, get Gordon, and get it done.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and oh, we do shutters too.
Fourth down and a long one. Rattler is out of the shotgun, takes the snap, drops the throw, slips, ball comes out. Ball is loose, Saints on top of it, but that will be it.
You know, there's pain just with losing again, another short one, but it really comes down to we got to do more of what winning football teams do. We got to play better in situational football. We got to pounce on opportunities when they're presented, and we got to give ourselves a better chance. And so there's too much good in there to miss these opportunities. And so we got to play better, faster, learn from these things, and go from there.
Saints lose 26-21 to the San Francisco 49ers. They fall to 0-2. I think everyone is starting to see the realization, the manifestation of what this team is. They're just not a good football team capable of winning games in the NFL. It's why we've said all offseason this is just going to be a very long year. And it's easy to say, well, they're close. Look how close they were with an opportunity late game. What if Juwan Johnson makes that catch against the Cardinals? He didn't. What if they put together a 2-minute drive or Blake Grupe makes a 40-yard field goal? Maybe you're in it and just need a field goal to win. They didn't. Because there is one absolutely undeniable truth in the National Football League. Good teams find a way to win, and bad teams find a way to lose. And the New Orleans Saints are a bad team. This is the hard thing, I think, for a lot of people to realize. I'm going to talk about the game in just a second, but I'm giving you a big picture philosophy here. We, you, me, collectively, Saints fans, people who have watched this team, cheered for this franchise for a long time, we got used to, for a decade and a half, waking up every Sunday thinking our team was going to win. Now, that wasn't realistic. They, of course, weren't going to win every game. But you never went into a game for 15 years thinking, no shot today. Taking that L, right? Always thought the Saints with Drew Brees and Sean Payton had a chance or were going to win. None of those guys are here. Nobody on this team has won anything. You had some guys that were young in their career when the Saints went to the NFC Championship game in 2018. Your Kamara was a second-year player. Cam Jordan was a young veteran at that point. DeMario was on that team. Like, that's it. I mean, look at the guys you're counting on now. They've never won anything. Spencer Rattler's never won anything. Carl Granderson's never won anything. Pete Werner, Kool-Aid McKinstry's a second-year player. Justin Reed's. I mean, well, Reed had been in Kansas City, but with New Orleans, they've missed the playoffs 4 straight years, and they're projected to be the worst team in the NFL. How much has your roster turned over in 5 years since the last time you made the playoffs? The point is, you and I see the Saints and think, oh, they should win. These guys have never won anything. You got a rookie head coach that hasn't won a game, didn't even win a game in the preseason. They tied one. I mean, the expectation of winning, the culture of winning doesn't exist within that locker room right now because they've never done it. And that's not to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I mean, there was some good. Like, Spencer Rattler didn't lose you the game. He's just not capable of winning you the game. And you can hem and haw and say, yeah, but he completed 70% of his passes, 3 touchdowns, no picks. That's true. And they had 2 possessions in the fourth quarter with the game on the line, and they went 3 and out, and then he fumbled. I'm not blaming him for the fumble. I mean, it was the 4th down play you had to go for. But the point is, when the game was on the line and you had to go make a play, you didn't. You couldn't. Because this team, they're not winners. I did like a lot of what Spencer Rattler did. He protected the football, didn't turn it over. He made some really nice plays with his feet. You had unfortunately, an Eric McCoy penalty negated a Spencer Rattler run in the first quarter. But Rattler had a 3rd and 6 conversion in the second quarter right before Juwan Johnson's touchdown. Beautiful play where he kind of made a guy miss, got upfield. He converted on a 4th and 1 in the second half. Like, Rattler did some really nice things in this game. I like that, a week ago we talked about this team needing to help out their quarterback and make some contested catches. Juwan Johnson at the end of the game, Olave on the left sideline at the end of the game. I mean, there were some plays that you would have loved to have seen Devon Vele a week ago on the play where he drew a PI. Drew a PI, but make the catch. On Sunday, you saw contested catches. Juwan Johnson made a beautiful touchdown catch. Rashid Shaheed, the one-handed catch on the PI. When the Saints went down, ultimately, they missed a field goal on that drive. Way to go, Blake Grupe. We'll talk about him in a second. Devon Vele's touchdown catch was a beautiful contested catch. Olave had a contested catch. It was nice to see. Elevate your young quarterback. But the bottom line is you're not very good, and defensively, you're not nearly what I think some thought they could be with their first unit out there. You let Mac Jones dice you up. Let me remind you. Now, Mac Jones has started 50 career games, 5-0. He's played a lot of football in the NFL. But Mac Jones threw for 279, 3 touchdowns, no picks. He hasn't done that since his rookie year. I mean, it's Mac Jones. And by the way, that's Mac Jones without George Kittle, without Brandon Ayuk, without Deebo Samuel. That's Mac Jones throwing to Juwan Jennings and Ricky Pearsall. Pearsall's first-round pick. Jennings had a 42-yard catch and run, really good player. Jake Tungus, however you pronounce it, in there for Kittle. They lost Kyle Juszczyk in the game as well. I mean, that wasn't like peak San Francisco. But the illustrative difference is you have a team that expects to win and a great offensive coach, maybe the best offensive/quarterback coach in the NFL, a guy that took a team to a Super Bowl with Brock Purdy and Jimmy G. He turned Brock Purdy, Mr. Irrelevant, into a $50 million a year quarterback. Like, that's the difference. You just saw on display, you know what the 49ers were on Sunday? They were New Orleans with Teddy Bridgewater when Drew Brees got hurt. That's what San Francisco was. A team that had a good enough nucleus, great coaching, belief in itself and their plan, a quarterback that played within themselves in the scheme, went on the road and won a game. Because they're better. And you're not good. You were flagged 16 times for penalties a week ago with 13 accepted. You cleaned that up a little bit. You had 4 in the first quarter, which was an absolute embarrassment. Isaac Adam had a PI. They converted a 3rd and 14. Diggs had a hands to the face. McCoy had a holding penalty that negated a Spencer Rattler run. Yadam had another penalty, a block in the back on a punt return. That was all in the first quarter. Now, you cleaned it up. You ended up with 7 penalties for the game. So 4 in the first quarter, 3 the rest of the way. The Juwan Johnson touchdown was great, brought you within 9-7, but then you let them go on a 2-minute drive and score a touchdown with 7 seconds to play in the half. They had an opportunity to go back-to-back. Rumph forced the fumble at the start of the second half. Really nice play by Chris Rumph right there. And then you scored. You scored on Rashid Shaheed's touchdown to make it 16-14. They answered with a field goal to make it 19-14. They just kept extending. And you got the ball back, and you think you're going to go make a play and have a chance to take the lead, and then Kamara fumbles. Now, I have a problem with the call on Kamara's fumble, and I'm not saying it was the wrong call. I just don't know what's a fumble, what's a catch. I know we do that whole thing, like who knows what a catch is anymore. I don't. You can slow that thing down, frame by frame, and determine whether or not he had possession on his helmet, and then did he take a step. Like, real time, he's bobbling the ball, he pins it against his helmet, then he gets crushed, and the ball pops out. Like, I don't think that was a fumble. I don't think that was a catch. But what do I know? Changed the game. After the fumble, when Jennings had his 42-yard touchdown, They were up 12. You could have folded. You put together your best drive of the day. 13 plays, 71 yards. You did convert twice on penalties, but Olave had a contested catch. You had the contested touchdown by Vele to bring within 26-21. And I'll be damned, you got to stop. Got the ball at 4:35 and a chance to go put together a 4-minute offense and win the game. Instead, you go 3 and out. And then your defense gets you another stop. And the offense gets the ball back and did whatever that was that they did. So, look, there was some good. There's just not enough good to win in the NFL. And it's not going to happen the next 2 weeks. You got to go to Seattle where you're an 8.5-point favorite here on the opening line. Then you got to go to Buffalo where you're going to get smoked. You'll have a chance to win home games against New England and the Giants. I do think that. And there's some wins. Like, you always play well against your division because you know them so well. There's a win or two out there in division games. You do get the Jets in New Orleans as well. So I'm not sitting here telling you this is going to be a winless team. It's just if you're expecting anything more than 4 or 5 wins scattered throughout the course of this schedule, you're fooling yourself. Get used to seeing more of this. I'm not trying to be a Debbie Downer. I'm just a realist. And I've told you I'm not going to sit here on Mondays and bemoan wins and losses because I'm not expecting anything from this team. What I want to see is growth. I want to see young players play well to prove whether or not they can actually be cornerstone pieces that can be starters in the NFL upon which you can build that foundation, upon which you can build an organization and a contender. And to be very honest, I'm not seeing a lot of that so far through 2 weeks. But it's a long season. A lot of growth will happen. We'll continue to watch it, although the results on Sunday aren't going to be a lot of fun. We're going to have a lot of Mondays here where we're talking about the Saints losing, which is different for this organization. Different for the fans over the last decade and a half, but it's the reality they face right now. All right, we're brought to you by Supper Club. SupperClubBTR.com for your reservation. SupperClubBTR.com. Oh, the SEC Nation crew went to Supper Club. I saw Laura Rutledge on her Instagram story, was thanking Supper Club and Chef Layton. She's like, this is the best meal they've ever had, ever, on all of their campus tours with SEC Nation. How about that for validation? Listen, I tell you about it all the time, but you got to go experience Supper Club. They're closed today. Remember, they're closed Sunday, Monday, so they're open Tuesday to Saturday. Get your reservation. Tigers play this weekend. If you're not going to be at the game, remember, you can watch the game at Supper Club. Now, that ain't a sports bar, but they have a big projection TV in the lounge to the right of the bar, so you can sit at one of the bar tables or one of the bar stools and watch the game. And instead of, eating bar food, if you want to go have an amazing steak, a piece of fish, a glass of wine at Supper Club and watch the game, you could do it this or any Saturday. SupperClubBTR.com, SupperClubBTR.com for your reservations. That's Supper Club. All right, y'all, it's After Further Review. Monday shows brought to you by Relief Windows. We'll knock out a quick break. Normally we go around the SEC. I'm not going to do that today because I want to give myself enough time to talk about the Garrett Nussmeier injury, which Brian Kelly finally disclosed today. We'll dive into that next here on AFR.
AFR.
Fall is here, and a great telltale that fall is here is when you look at Clegg's Nursery, and they've got all of the fall decor set up. Miss Teresa emailed me earlier today with a few updates after last week. They got everything set up, all the pumpkins and the hay bales and the squash and the gourds and the scarecrows and the wheat stalks. They've got it all, and it is time to plant your fall garden and those fruit trees. Probably early to plant trees and shrubs, but the fruit trees, this is the time to get them in the ground. So they're stocked up on Buckbusters, Mobucks, deer feed, deer corn, rice bran. If you're getting your plots ready for deer season, they got you. They got fall flowers that are still a few weeks out, but they've got mums and petunias and a lot of ornamental peppers that are perfect for fall decorating. Y'all, it is time to get by Clegg's Nursery. Any of the 4 locations in the greater Baton Rouge area, serving Baton Rouge for 60 years. Buy local, shop local. Tell them I sent you in to Clegg's Nursery.
After Further Review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding. And we do shutters too.
On 2nd and 13, Nussmeier stacks 2 receivers left, 2 to the right. Plenty of time in the pocket. It holds. The throw to the end zone. Caught at the goal line, falling in backwards. Xavion Thomas, touchdown, Fighting Tigers.
That would be the only offensive touchdown Saturday for LSU against the Florida Gators. Nonetheless, Tigers win 20-10 over Florida. Moved to 1-0 in the league, 3-0 overall, and a breather this week with Southeastern Louisiana coming in. There have been naturally a lot of questions as to why this LSU offense, which features so much talent, has been slowed. And that is not actually debatable, either part of that. Garrett Nussmeier is a 4,000-yard passer. We know he's really good. We know Chris Hilton and Aaron Anderson and Xavier Thomas and Barrion Brown and Nick Anderson, are Caden Durham, Bauer Sharp, that they are all really good football players. That is an undeniable, inarguable fact, because we have seen them all do it at the major college SEC level. So you've got all this talent on an offense that right now is not very good. And I know Brian Kelly wasn't super pumped to answer questions about that after the game. And to his credit, he was much more measured on Monday. But these are the things that are inarguable right now. LSU is 117th in America in rushing offense. LSU is 111th in the country in scoring offense. They are 62nd nationally in passing offense. This has not been, they have been effective at executing their plan, but they have not been efficient or explosive. That is objectively true. Brian Kelly on Monday might have shed a little light as to one thing anyway that is slowing the offense, and that's an injury to Garrett Nussmeier.
I'll be honest, and I wasn't going to get into this, but with you guys I will. You know, he's been slowed a little bit with a torso injury, and he's fighting through it, and he's getting better, and he's not going to be able to really shut it down until we get to the bye week. And I'm not saying that has had any of his troubles. I think he is a symptom of what I just answered from Wilson, in that, you know, we're not ripping it, you know, on fourth down. You know, we're taking some plays away from him as well. And he's done a really good job. I think he managed the run game as well as he has all year. We got to let him get the ball out to the playmakers. That would be more of what has to happen. And then we've got to keep him healthy.
Now, I know how this is going to go. All right? I know how this is going to go because I know you. I love you and I appreciate you, sincerely. If you're listening, watching, despite whatever arguments, disagreements we may have, I love you and I appreciate you. Please know that. But I know how you're going to react to this. You're going to say, Eureka, smoking gun. That's why the offense stinks. Nuss is hurt, and they've been covering it up. I don't think that's the case. In the most honest, sincere way I could tell you that I am not lying. I genuinely believe this thing with Nussmeier is a nothing. In the same way that the knee tendonitis was a nothing. Everyone tried to make that into a big thing. Clearly, you're watching it. He in no way looks limited by that at all, does he? You've watched 3 games. Has anybody in 3 weeks said a damn thing about Garrett Nussmeier's knee? No, because it's a nothing. I think similar, this is a nothing. Now, I want to give you some context here, so go back with me. Because I first heard about Nuss with the oblique the Saturday before Clemson, when they had the scrimmage walkthrough in Tiger Stadium and Nuss didn't throw the football. That's when I first heard, hey, he's got an oblique thing. So I did what you naturally do. I started calling around. And everyone I asked within the program all hand-waved it and assured it was nothing. Now go back further. The first time that there was any signal of this was in camp. It was Friday, August the 15th. I went back and looked at my camp notes today. Friday, August the 15th, they're at the indoor, helmet, shoulder pads, and Nuss does not throw while the media is watching. He does not throw a pass. Brian Kelly meets with reporters after that practice and is asked, why didn't Garrett Nussmeier throw today? Here's what he said.
Nuss is much more about managing his throws. He hit a number of throws where we give him some time to back off a little bit. He'll be back out tomorrow, full go, scrimmaging tomorrow. Again, it's just maintenance on some of these guys with workload.
Okay, so Nuss doesn't throw on that Friday. He goes and scrimmages fully on Saturday. if you're me or you or anyone asking about Nuss being injured, and then you hear that he practices and scrimmages fully in Tiger Stadium the next day, you're going, okay, well, there's nothing to it. Because if he was really hurt, they wouldn't have let him go be a full go in scrimmage on Saturday. Well, then the next Saturday, the 25th, was the 23rd. It was the 23rd. The 23rd was the Saturday before Clemson. Nuss, again, doesn't throw. We didn't have access to Kelly on the 23rd, but that Monday before Clemson, he spoke to reporters. I asked him, again, why wasn't Nussmeier throwing?
When you get into the camp situation, we have I know it's not a great analogy, but we have a pitch count where we want to take our quarterback's load off, and all the installation was in, Matt. We were done with installation. So this was just more throwing. We wanted to wait and get into Clemson in game week. And so he'll be out there on Tuesday, practicing full.
Okay. So now Garrett Nussmeier's played 3 games. The offense has not looked good. It certainly hasn't been explosive like we thought they would. And sometimes correlation does not equal causation. Because the offense is struggling and Nuss has this torso thing, does not mean the offense is struggling because Nuss has a torso thing. Brian Kelly on Monday was asked if the torso injury is limiting their play call, meaning are they not stretching the field because of Nuss's injury?
No, come Saturday, he's good to go. We've limited him a little bit during the week because of some tightness that he's had in his torso. It's an upper body injury that you want to be careful with how many reps he's getting throwing the football. So he's overcoming that. But we cut him down substantially. I think he's on the other side of that, but we had to be really careful with him the first few weeks.
Okay, so Brian Kelly's saying it's not limiting us. By the way, if you're scoring at home, through 3 games, 20-yard passes that have traveled 20 yards in the air, 3 against Clemson, 3 against Florida, 7 against Louisiana Tech. For context, he threw 86 last year. The Ole Miss game last year, he had 16 in one game. But 3, 7, and then 3. If you were trying to hide an injury, why would you let him stretch the field against Louisiana Tech? Why wouldn't you do it against Clemson or Florida when maybe you needed a little more injection of offense? Clearly, if they were hiding it, he wouldn't be stretching the field against Tech double the amount that he would against the other 2. And there was a follow-up asked about the downfield passing game and this injury.
Is that something that has affected the downfield passing game in any way in game?
No, but we don't, you're not working on it as much in practice. So, when you get your shots, you want to be able to take them, but we're not doing it a lot in practice. We're starting to pick up that pace. We started a little bit last week. We'll continue to pick it up more this week.
My opinion, and again, I understand a lot of you are going to disagree. I know a lot of you are going to disagree because you tweet at me and text me all the time, and I know where you're going to stand on this. What I'm saying to you is not going to register at all for 96% of you. But for the 4% that will, that's why I'm going to do this. And just so I can be on the record. My opinion sitting here today is the same as it was before the Florida game and before the Clemson game and after each. Your problem, what you are limiting in the play calling, and Brian Kelly acknowledged this today. For everyone who's crapping on Joe Sloan, you can do that. Nothing I say is going to change your mind about Joe Sloan if you hate Joe Sloan. But Brian Kelly even said, Joe Sloan is doing what we are telling him to do. We are winning the game. We're winning games by playing defense and running the football and not committing mistakes on offense. He's basically handcuffing Joe Sloan. Believe it if you want. I don't care. It's what Brian Kelly said. It's on the record. You believe what you want. I don't care. Look at the run blocking grades from Saturday. Braylon Moore was a 67. Paul Mabenga was a 61. Weston Davis was a 50. Josh Thompson was a 50. Tyree Adams was a 50. I mean, you right now are not good run block. That's an objective truth. And so teams, forgive me, I gave you the wrong number. Tyree Adams was a 45. Weston Davis was a 49. Cohen Eccles was a 50. Josh Thompson was a 51. It's not good enough. That's on Pro Football Focus, by the way. Teams are playing coverage against LSU because you can't run the ball. So if they're going to drop 6 and 7 in coverage, there's nowhere to go with the football. So you've got to be able to run, but you're not able to run. Until they're able to move bodies and run the football, they're not going to open up the passing game. That's just math. There's way smarter people than me that are going to look at film and tell you that, but it ain't like I came to that conclusion on my own. Way smarter people than me that look at film have said, watching LSU's film, that's what's happening. So until this offensive line improves to where LSU is able to be a competent rushing football team, to bring numbers into the box, to open up the passing game, I think it's going to keep looking like this. So the hope is that offensive line keeps improving and they're able to open up the passing game. I do not think in any way that this LSU's offensive struggle so far has anything whatsoever to do with Garrett Nussmeier's torso. By the way, I asked Brian Kelly after the press conference today, if Garrett Nussmeier has this injury, why hasn't he been listed on the injury report? And Kelly told me you only have to put someone on the injury report if they miss or are limited in practice. And he has not missed or been limited in practice. So if he's not missing practice, he's not limited in practice, he's doing everything in games, like, I'm not going to make a bigger deal of this than what it is. The real issue is your offensive line's got to be better. The same issue we spent all camp talking about. All right, it's AFR. Wrap up hour number 1 next.
AFR.
We're brought to you by River City's 1 Hour Air, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime. 752-0001, 752-0001, 752-0001. Or 1hourbr.com. Spell it out, O-N-E, 1hourbr.com for River City's 1 Hour Air. They're the best. Remember, nights and weekends, got an issue with your AC, they'll always come out. We're getting close to the time when we'll start telling you about the preseason heater safety check, but we're not quite there yet because right now in Baton Rouge, it's 90 degrees at 3:50 in the afternoon on September the 15th. So, yeah, you still need that AC pumping cool air, and if yours isn't for whatever reason, our friends at River City's 1 Hour Air can help. Look for the big yellow vans and trucks with the giant clock on the side. Go read their Google reviews. They've got more than double the amount of 5-star Google reviews than the next closest competitor because for 40 years they've been thrilling their customers. It's River City's 1 Hour Air. 752-0001, 752-0001, where they're always on time or you don't pay a dime.
After further review, presented by Relief Windows. Windows, doors, siding, and we do shutters too.
All right, wrapping up hour number 1, presented by Relief Windows. Every Thursday, we tell you what to watch. We come back and tell you what we learned on Monday. Hit it, Muse.
We watched. Now, let's review.
All right, gotta go.
Yeah, I was watching Bengals and Jaguars. It was the rematch of the college football playoff. Then Joe Burrow got hurt, and no one really cared anymore. So he's going to be out for 3 months, and that sucks.
Yeah, it sucks.
Arkansas, Ole Miss. Ole Miss started backup quarterback Trinidad Chambliss. Chambliss threw for 353. He plays Austin Simmons. Ole Miss sealed the game in under 2 minutes when the Rebs stripped the ball from Arkansas. Fumble recovery.
Which Clemson was real? The one that lost 3 games a year ago, or were they the playoff team? They blew it against Georgia Tech. Credit Georgia Tech. I've waffled a lot on that game, but Clemson, Klubnik had a fumble. They missed a field goal, had an interception at the goal line. Clemson probably should have won that game by double digits. They choked it away, and credit Georgia Tech. They made the plays to win it. Clemson, one tough game remaining against Florida State. Other than that, they could run the table and be in the college football playoff mix, but they're up against it now.
Darian Mintz's return to Tulane. He was fine, 313, but credit the Green Wave. They built a big lead in the first half, withstood the rally from Duke. Jake Retzlaff, over 300 yards from him as well for Tulane. They got the win in the last laugh.
How about the Colts with another surprise win? They lined up for a 60-yard field goal that was no good, but penalty gave them another kick. They kicked the game winner. They're now 2-0 and lead the AFC South.
I was fascinated by Vandy, South Carolina. And lo and behold, Rex Specs is a fraud. Told you Carolina was going 7-5. That might have been generous. Vandy might be the toughest game remaining on LSU's schedule.
At least we know one team in Florida can take care of the South Florida Bulls. Miami rolled them like you should, as we also predicted here.
Eagles get the win in the Super Bowl rematch with the Chiefs. Jalen Hurts, Saquon Barkley each had touchdown runs. Eagles defense came up with a fourth quarter interception of Mahomes. Chiefs 0-2 for the first time since 2014.
And I was looking at contenders looking to avoid going 0-2. Chiefs, Ravens, and Lions. Detroit scored 52 on their former coach. Baltimore with a no-problem win over Cleveland, 41-17. But as Paulie mentioned, the Chefs fall to 0-2. There you have it. That's what we learned. All right, it's after further review. We're glad you're hanging out with us here. Monday shows are presented by Relief Windows and ReliefWindows.com. Peter Burns spent his weekend in Baton Rouge, and he spent his morning next to a guy dressed like a pumpkin. We'll talk to him next. It's AFR.
AFR.
We're brought to you by Parish Restoration, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Kill mold, remove odor. Remember, it's that patented non-toxic dry fog treatment. They'll come in your home, your office, church, school, workout facility, government building, hospital, anything. Have mold, think you might? Other harmful pathogens? Maybe there's sickness running rampant through the office, through the building, whatever it is. You need to spray to sanitize. You want Parish Restoration. It is mold remediation. It's sanitization. It's odor removal. Maybe you bought a house from someone who was a cigarette smoker or had pets or sweat odor. You want to knock all that out? Parish Restoration can help. It's easy. Go to parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com, parishrestoration.com. Fill out the form on the homepage at parishrestoration.com. They'll come give you that free quote and estimate. It's parishrestoration.com.